Welcome everyone to the fantastic new series that we're going to do, which is called The Why of Yoga. And we'll start by saying, hi, I'm Tony, and who are you?
I'm Georgia. Otherwise,
Fantastic. Fantastic. And welcome to everyone to this show. And our goal is to, in this series, which we're calling The Why of Yoga, is to try and unravel some of the mysteries of yoga, get you all inspired, get you all excited, and really get you with us on this journey that we've called yoga. But I'd first like to introduce my friend Georgia and just say, Georgia, who are you? What do you do, Georgia?
so I'm a yoga teacher and I have a wellness business, Sanctity Wellness, all about yoga online and retreats as well. And yeah, this is me really. I'm here to share yoga. It's something that I found when I had sort of worked my way up in a corporate role and asked myself the question, is this what life is all about? I felt like something was missing, and for me, yoga was an amazing way to experience some amazing parts of life that I hadn't before. Who are you?
And me, yeah, who am I? That's what everybody says. Who are you, Tony? So I mean, who am I? Thanks for that, Georgia. Well, I'm Tony. I'm part of that. I'm part of, if you like, the life science world. I'm an academic, and I was in universities, and I've been chief executive of many companies. So I've been in that corporate world, and I found yoga some 20 years ago, and I've managed to fuse my interest in yoga with my interest in martial arts, and that's really the combination. And George and I, we met under strange circumstances. Georgia is now my partner in crime. What happened is Georgia emailed me, from our life science background, and she put at the bottom, oh, Tony, I like your website, and I like the way you asked the question, why? And really that prompted something, Georgia, didn't it? What did it prompt?
It did. I think it's almost like questioning the way things are. It's both worked in sciences and have that yoga side as well. And bringing those two things together can just be amazing because life sciences is there to help people to live a more healthy life. And what I really see yoga as is almost like a preventative cure in some ways in terms of lifestyle. So yeah, it's really funny that we've got that in common, that connection.
And it's a real pleasure. And I mean, I've always just asked the question why. I mean, when somebody told me to do algebra, I used to say why, and it wasn't that I was lazy. And laziness is not something to suffer from. But if I don't know why I'm doing something, it doesn't inspire me. And Patabi, just who we will talk about later, he used to say that yoga is 90%, 99% practice and 1% theory. But I think for many people, we actually need a little bit more understanding of what it's all about. And that's what we'll be doing in this series. We'll be breaking down postures, talking about it, demonstrating postures, and giving you some insights into what they mean and what it's all about. But maybe I'll start with asking Georgia, Georgia, what is yoga? What is yoga?
If you think about what is yoga, I think so many people around the world will disagree because no one really agrees on what yoga is. It goes back thousands and thousands of years if you look at the history of yoga. Actually, for the first 3,000 years, it was only 150 years ago or so, that yoga was a practice for a very, very long time. Yoga, we now see as meditating. And if you look at the word yoga, it traditionally would translate into yoke or to yoke in Sanskrit, which literally means union. So a lot of people can agree on yoga being a union of some kind, whether that be the mind, body, soul, or any other kind of union. What do you think yoga is, Tony?
Well, I think it's, I mean, I've got a picture here. It's something that's in the history. I mean, it is, there's pictures that go back hundreds of years, Georgia, but I think yoga is yoga is it's a bit like it's finding a way of softening your body, softening your experience through life, so that you're not fighting all the time. It's a bit like, you know, it's about subtlety, it's about gentleness, and you know, just like the martial arts, as you go up in the martial arts, at the beginning it's power and power, but as you go up the martial arts, it's all about subtlety, and yoga is about a subtlety of living. And I think that's what it's all about. And how did you, where did you first get into it, Georgia? I mean, how did it happen?
I love that. Before I go into it, I love what you say about the subtlety, because I think that's so true. We can easily send ourselves into fight or flight mode and be constantly busy, on the go, all of this, and see busy as a good thing sometimes in our society. And maybe that actually shows why I got into yoga. I think I actually got caught up in that busy world, and I got really caught up in work being my priority and the only thing in my life. And I got to a point where I literally was like, I need to move. And for me, the movement part of yoga actually brought me into yoga. I started going to yoga classes as a way to de-stress from work. And I soon realized it could be a lifestyle. How did you get into
Yeah. Well, I mean, I went. I was a big tennis player, and I was suffering really. I used to go to bed, and I put my arm behind my head, and I couldn't move it. I was locked because I played all weathers, and I went to see yoga people stretches, but I never really understood what was stretching. But now I sort of understand it's a sensory thing. When you stretch, you don't only move the muscle, you also feel it. And I think the feeling is a super experience. And just sharing some of even your day about short and long-term goals, Georgia. I mean, you were saying to me that, you know, it's about, yoga is a long-term goal, isn't it, for everyone?
Yeah, massively. I think it's actually really helped me to realign my life and actually look at my priorities in life. Sometimes I'd be very, very guilty, I'm sure we all are, of putting work before anything else. And as much as I'm a very ambitious person, I would always value work. It's not my one and only value. There's other things that I value in life, and that's what yoga reminds me of every day.
And I mean, is it, you know, one of the things is, as somebody who's done yoga, when they meet me, they say, "Oh my goodness, Tony, you know, you must be able to get your leg behind your head." And I'll never be able to get my leg behind my, well, I might if I keep going. But you know, it's this thing about, you know, is it relevant? You know, is yoga relevant to the corporate world? Is it relevant to people who are in action mode? Is it relevant in today's world, George?
I think it is the most important thing if it's not yoga, I don't know if yoga is one. I mean, you can find your own interpretation of it, but some sort of focus on your whole life and lifestyle, and actually focusing on your mindset, how you show up each day, going into a meeting feeling great, you're going to get so much more out of that. And companies that prioritize lifestyle, that prioritize a real, genuine balance for employees, are the ones that are going to skyrocket, and the rest will be left behind. Because if you have a bunch of employees who are motivated by the same mission, the same goal, who come back to work refreshed every day, still driven toward that goal, who are inspired by it and motivated by it, as opposed to people who feel a victim to the system almost. That's the way it's going, and that's what's in demand right now.
And I mean, when you first got into yoga, I mean, did everyone say, "Well, blimey, you're into woo woo"? And I mean, I've been to classes where the teacher has said at the beginning, you know, there is nothing spiritual here. They've been proud that there's nothing spiritual, and people phone me up sometimes. And they say, "Well, how do I get into spiritual?" You know, and so it's connected to this thing that people are either embarrassed, it's woo, it's you know, what's that about, Georgia?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's so funny when I sort of left my job to do this. My boss said to me, "Oh, don't go all hippie on me, don't go all crazy and start having your hair in dreadlocks and dyeing your hair pink." I still haven't got dreadlocks, but yeah, it's a really interesting conversation about woo, and I think so many people are intimidated or feel like that is not for me because of the woo of yoga, which basically is the anytime maybe you could go by that by putting your hands at your heart in prayer. Maybe that could feel religious for you in some way, and that's a bit not quite what I want out of it. But yoga, it's not a religious thing. And spirituality is a very interesting concept. It's an interesting journey. It's not necessarily something you start off feeling a spiritual person to do yoga, but maybe it is something that you will learn along the way. One of the introductions to that whole concept of spirituality to me was a quote that I had heard from a very famous yogi that said, yoga is about touching your toes, it's about learn down. And that, for me, shows the journey. That could be a journey of yoga, of literally touch your toes, or that could be what you learn in terms of your whole life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, I mean, what's interesting is when you get on a mat, the whole life really is modeled really. You know, it's like it's hard to get on the mat. I've got to do it, but every second I'm learning something. But I think it's being in touch with your senses, and when you've done it, you feel like $1,000,000, but you softens. Would you agree your body softens, Julia?
100%. I show up so much better in everything I do once I've bought yoga into my day. And like you say about getting on your mat, I feel so good. Like when I actually get on my mat, I'm like, okay, this time is for me. I'm gonna zone out for a bit. I'm gonna move, stretch, and I think myself even carving out some time for yourself to do that is really a great step.
I mean, in our series Why of Yoga, which we're going to be doing, we're going to be not only talking, we're also going to be doing it. And we're doing yoga now, aren't we, Georgia? And do you want to explain something about the way you're sitting and how that is the starting point for everything we do?
Yeah, that's amazing. So, um, when you sit in this way and you sit in a way that maybe you cross your legs, you're grounding areas of your body to the ground. So you're sitting on the floor or cushion. You can really feel parts of your body grounding into the ground. You lengthen your spine all the way up to your head, and you're sitting in a position that allows all of your energy to flow rather than being sort of crouched down. And it's not only helping with your energy, but your posture as well. Something as simple as that. What do you think?
Well, I think that, you know, being sat up straight is multiple things, really. I think you're quite right that being cross-legged and grounding is it. But people often in the yoga world talk about as you sit, you're really an antennae. You're starting to be available to the world. You're when they talk about energy in yoga and in martial arts, it's often a feeling of openness, that there's a flow that goes up, and when you punch in martial arts, you can feel the energy moving in a line, you can feel the energy moving around. And when you sit, you're really in this. And I mean, the traditional yogis believe that if you sat like this for hours, you could meditate. And this will be a subject that we can cover in another one of the series. But sitting cross-legged with your antennae fully engaged with the universe is the beginning of meditation. Would you agree, Jordan?
Yeah, it takes you away from your head. I think we can be so stuck in our head, thinking. I have this to do, I have that to do, this. Stop all of that for a moment. It's not as urgent as you think it is. As soon as you sit like this and you simply just sit, you lengthen, you open yourself up to being still for a moment, that is where the power comes. And it's so interesting that you said earlier about yoga being able to soften and make you more subtle. Because as soon as you do soften subtle, there's a certain power in being still and in stillness.
And this is something we're going to cover in the future. So out in front of us, Georgia and I are going to be having some fun in this series, and we're going to be talking about many things. The next one we're going to do a couple of standing postures to get everybody going. And we'll be building up every week into a different thing. Georgia, have you got some thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm really excited to sort of take through and bring down the yoga poses that maybe you'll see every day or you'll do very often, but actually you don't know why. So it'll be really cool to go into that a little more as to why.
So we'll be dipping into a little bit of martial arts here and there, just to try and understand how they work. Because in a way, the martial arts, jiu-jitsu is the soft art. It is the art of softness, and yoga is soft. So there's a real connection. So we look forward to seeing you next time, Georgia. Just before we go, if anyone who's watching wants to get in touch with you and do any classes, is there somewhere they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, the easiest way is probably on my website, sanctity.co.uk, or to find me on Instagram, Yoga by Georgia.
Fantastic. And in the future, we'll find out how to find me, which is always very difficult because I'm always very hidden. So it's fantastic to see you. So it's bye from me, and it's bye from
Namaste.
Georgia. Namaste. We'll see you next time. Lovely to see you. Ciao. Bye bye.